So, today we're going to talk about the mostly post-Holocaust experiences.
Let's say we can start from when we were liberated by
Well-
the Russians.
Well, I have to follow this format, so I'm going to ask you a couple of background questions first. First, your full name prior to your marriage.
Hanka Kohane,
Can you spell that for me?
yes. Hanka Kochne.
And what was your date of birth?
1/11/25.
Okay, and what city and country were you born in?
Lodz, Poland.
Oh, same town as my mother.
Same with Halamidi.
And just a little bit about your family, brothers and sisters.
Our family consisted of 4 people. My immediate family.
Your me.
Mother and father, my younger brother, and myself.
And growing up, were they religious?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit.
My father was an observant Jew. He went to a synagogue. He prayed also every day. And he also tried to teach my younger brother a religion. Of course, we all went to school, to Polish schools, where we learned the Polish language, reading, writing, geography, and mathematics, and whatever there was being taught at that time.
Was there any emphasis on Israel?
There were certain organizations in Poland, in Lodz. There were many Zionist organizations, but I did not belong to any because I was still too young, so I did not belong to any organization.
Now, after the war, I'm talking about literally after the war, at the time of liberation, when I'm going to go back and forth a little bit, but try not to. I'm not talking about in America. After the war, when you were starting to rebuild, do you recall whether you remember any traditions like recipes or
Of
things
course.
from your family
Yeah.
that you incorporated?
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that?
I didn't know much about cooking because I was quite young, but I learned certain things that my mother made. And I saw something that I always said I would never do. For instance, when she made fish, she had to buy fresh live fish, and we didn't, because there was nothing else at that time. So I saw how she was cooking the fish, and also she baked very good cheesecake and apple cake, but I can't say that I don't remember the ingredients. But I know that I like to do it, especially when she made something with eggs, and she made a big piana, a big, what do you call it? Something that was with white and sugar, and I always was given the rest what was in the plate. So I was
Trying.
I was trying to eat it with my brother. We loved it very much.
When did you do this right after liberation, like in a DP camp?
Yeah,
So it's a memory from that.
I do remember, but we didn't have right away the ingredients to do everything.
No,
That was a different story.
okay. I'll
Yes.
get to that. But what other things from your childhood?
I remember mostly the holidays, which was a big tradition in our home. My grandmother was always with us. And we observed, of course, all the holidays, and that was great fun for the children. We always liked that. My father used to make kiddush, and when he did, he put a piece of halal in the wine, and he gave it to us. And that was like a treat. And it was a very close-knit family. We were always together at any occasions, and my father's sister, and he had also a brother. Until they married, they were always together with us. My father was the oldest man, and he was always conducting all the seders and anything that required religious observance.
What, strictly talking about 1945 and talking strictly about the Jewish DP camps, what role did those memories play in how what you did while you were rebuilding?
First of all, in the DP camp, I got married because I met my husband on the way to the DP camps. There were men and women, and the men were always with us because we were always afraid of the Russian soldiers who were very fond of the Jewish girls. So each man would say, "This is my wife, this is my wife." So that is how we escapades with the soldiers. But when we came to the camps, of course, in the beginning we lived in a terrible building, a lot of people together, and we had a room number 31, and it was called the Notorious Building. Why? Because we were the ones that always wanted more. We needed towels, we needed underwear. Those were things that we didn't have. We were hardly dressed, what you would call decently dressed.
Go ahead.
That was nothing really that we had that was good for the winter that was coming. But luckily we got things from the UNRWA and also from Hayas and also from America. And little by little we were able to get dressed for the winter. Because when we were coming to Salzburg, it was already the fall. And the beginning was naturally very difficult. We lived many people together, and it was hard. There were not enough bathrooms. There was not enough.
Now I'm gonna take a step back to get
Okay.
some. I'm gonna go back to what role did the memory play, but I'll ask you that again. Where were you liberated from?
Where I was,
Where were you liberated from?
I was liberated after Auschwitz. I was sent to a place called Halbstadt, and there we escaped the worst thing. First of all, there was no gas chamber, that's number one. And second of all, at the end, we didn't have to go on a march. The camp was livable by that because we didn't have much to eat, but this was a camp where we were working by doing precision parts for the German people, for the planes. And we had a bathroom, but it was one very big one. Once a week we were allowed to take a shower. And we were sleeping on straw bags. We didn't have, and one cover, one piece of cover, whatever they had, they gave us.
Mm-hmm.
there was not too much food, but we were able to sustain ourselves because we were not too long in that camp. And after that,
You can keep talking, I'm just checking. Yeah.
after that, when I was liberated, we wanted to go back to where we were born, to our native countries, from where we came. And that was a very hard trip. First of all, there were no trains or that were going on time or any way that we could start going towards Poland, because we were in Sudetendeutschland. Actually, our camp, Halbstadt, was in Sudetendeutschland, and from there we had to go to Poland. So little by little we went with any way, with wagons, we walked, we got a little train that went from one station to the other, but not far enough to go right away to Poland. But first of all, we didn't know about the other place to go. And second of all, we were born in Poland and we were hoping that somebody, by a miracle, will come back, somebody from the family. I didn't have much hope for my parents because my father died in the ghetto and so did my brother. But unfortunately, my mother went with me. We both were in Auschwitz, and unfortunately my mother did not leave Auschwitz. I was the one that went out from Auschwitz and to this place in Halbstadt. We were brought to this place in Halbstadt.
Do you know approximately when this was, Halbstein?
That was already in 1944. They were liquidating the ghetto.
Right.
And from Halbstadt, we were going, we were trying to get to Poland. It was not that you could go buy a ticket and go straight.
Right.
It was a great hassle. First of all, it was chaos in Europe. The trains were overcrowded with people who were going to their own countries where they were born. The camps, of course, were already open at the time, and people that were from other countries they were expected by their landsman with great joy, and with their parents or family with tears and tears in their eyes from happiness. But the Jews were different. We had no country. Nobody really cared for us. And when we finally went to Poland, we were told not to come here. We are not welcome. And they were very surprised that we were not killed, because so many people were killed in Auschwitz. And we came back. That was not what they wanted. First of all, they took away everything that belonged to us.
So you went back to Lodz?
Yes.
What? Now, who literally? You were on a train by yourself?
No,
No.
with a group of people, never by myself.
Okay. But how did you get out of the camp? Who liberated you?
The Russians.
When did the Russians liberate you?
That was already the beginning of 1945.
So-
May 8, 1945.
Okay. Russians liberated you.
Yeah.
And who were you with at liberate? Who were your? Did you have some friends in
Well, we were a little clique. Like, I had one cousin.
Who was? What was her name?
That survived Auschwitz, and she was with me in camp.
What was her name?
Yeah, and those people that slept on the floor nearby, those were the friends, and the friends were the same with whom we were working in the camps in Halbstadt,
Okay.
in a factory.
Now tell me the name of your little clique.
It,
Tell me the names of your clique.
well, There were a lot of girls, but if I should say that I remember there,
Mm-mm.
Now she's Levine, Manya Levine. She was, this is from her husband's name, and they were my cousin, of course, Hala Weiss and Hala Mili, and there were other people that I don't know. Dorka, Dorka Weiss was also a girl, and there was other people. Um, Helen, I think, Zimmerman. Yeah.
Now, just let me stay with the clique of girls. Of the clique of girls that you were liberated
Yeah.
with, did you stay with this clique?
We stayed as far as we tried to get somewhere to Poland, but then everybody went different ways.
Now, I'll let you continue, but I want to stop you. Did you stay friendly after you? I'll jump to the United States. Are these people you were friendly with in the United States?
Yes, I was friendly with other people too that I met on the trains and on the way going to Poland.
We'll get into that, but of the ones you just mentioned, did any of them end up
Only
being
Hala Weiss, my cousin,
and
then Manya Levine, and who else was there?
Halamilik?
Hmm?
Halamilik?
Hala Mili, yeah, and who was there?
Dorka.
Hmm?
You mentioned a Dorka?
No, because you see, all those girls didn't come from Lodz. Some came from small cities around Lodz. So really, we didn't say. Some went to Germany. Some went to. They were looking for, for their friends and their family.
Okay, so now you were liberated and then you went back to Poland.
Yeah.
So tell me what happened when you went back to Poland.
As I told you that they.
Or rather, let me ask you a different question. What made you want to go back to Poland?
We had we were liberated in Sudetendeutschland. This was not our place. What would we do there? We didn't know anybody. Even the people around, the Germans, they ran away. But as soon as the Russians came, they tried to go away. They were very, very scared about the Russians.
Right.
So, where else? Israel was not on the map. There was nothing like Briha or that, there was nothing there. Where would we supposed to go?
Okay.
Who wanted us to begin with?
Right, so who did you go to Poland with?
We wanted to go to Poland. And the greetings when we came to Poland were not very, very nice, very encouraging. They simply didn't want us because they took so much from the Jewish people. They took our homes, they took the businesses, they took properties, they took anything that we had, and they lived there already. They live in the apartments, they live in the houses, everywhere, in the city and in the villages. They took over everything. So there was, and we didn't know, we came from camps, we didn't know anything what was going on in the world. So we came there, they didn't want us.
So who were you with when you went to Poland?
With whom do I live?
No, who did you go with to Poland?
To Poland I went with my cousin Hala. And there were other girls, Lubka, but they went with their friends to Krakow, to a different place. So I cannot say exactly with whom I went to Poland because we started together, but then everybody went their own way.
So you went to Lodz.
Yeah,
How long did you stay in Lodz?
very short time.
Okay.
And we decided to leave as fast as possible.
What'd you do next?
The next we went back to actually, we were first in Salzburg, in the camp, and from Salzburg, wait. No, now I am finished. I didn't go to Poland. My future husband went to Poland. I was staying in Salzburg because he said to me, "You
Okay.
don't go."
Let's backtrack. You were
Yeah.
liberated?
Yeah, and we were
And how
trying
did
with him. I was going with the whole group.
Now, how did you even get with the group to go to Salzburg?
How we were together.
And
So we decided to go to Poland because this was our country. And we were thinking we'll go back there. I mean, we were born there. There were generations, our parents were
no,
born
how
there.
did you get to Salzburg?
How we did, in many ways, a little bit by train, a little bit by, there were peasants that were driving with the wagon. So we gave them a few dollars and they drove us from city to city.
Did you hear that there were other Jewish survivors in Salzburg?
Yes, I knew that there was we found out that actually on our way we went to Prague and we stayed in Prague because we heard that in Prague is a place where we can stay and we can and we were there 1 month in Driska 5. This was the name of the street, and we were quite a few girls and men because we always traveled with men. I told you the reason was that we were afraid, and at that time we went in Prague. There were already different places where you could go, register your name, and look for other name. They had already, places where people were before us, and they left their names and where they were going, and they gave us for a month. We had food there, and they gave us some clothing, not much,
Right.
but because there were a lot of people coming to Prague.
Right.
But we couldn't stay long in Prague. And we thought maybe there is a way we can go to Israel. But there was no way because we didn't have any papers. We didn't have any papers. I could say that my name was whatever I wanted because I had no birth certificate. I didn't have anything about my parents. We were stateless. They called us DPs, deported stateless refugees, and at the very end we were called, Israel called us, this is a word that I wrote, I forgot, it will come to me, which meant the rest of the remnants.
Remnants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went to Prague. We stayed there 1 month.
This
and we
is
started
was this in 1945?
Yeah. Everything is after May 8, 1945.
Now, from Prague, did you go to Salzburg?
We went to Salzburg because we heard that there are. Wait. No. From Prague, in Prague, my future husband decided that he will go with his friend to Poland, that he didn't want we should travel, because traveling was not only exhausting, but it was dangerous for women. So he said, you stay here in Prague. It's a place where you can rest and wait until we come. We will go to Poland. And that's what they did. They went to Poland. My husband went to his home. My husband was greeted by his friends, by the people from the street. They didn't even let him up to his apartment to see. He said he doesn't want it. He's not going to stay here. But he wants to see his parents' apartment when he was growing up. But they wouldn't let him. Anyhow, they also greeted him with, "Why did you come? We don't want you here." And my husband thought that this is futile. It's no use to stay there. And
Was he hoping to get something that, I know that in the case of my mother, they buried some jewelry and stuff, but my mother never went back. Some people went back
yeah,
with the hopes they would find something. Was he?
he had the same problem, but he found a watch, his bar mitzvah watch, and he found something from his mother, but were very small things, and he brought this back. But it was very dangerous to travel in Poland for a Jew. They hated us with a passion, and they just didn't want we should be back, because they took everything.
Okay. Now,
And especially in the little cities, they cut them like when they saw a Jew, that they wanted to kill him right away.
now, when
Pro-
did you go to Salzburg?
So we stayed in Prague. My husband came back from Poland, and he told us, "So used to go to Poland." So we heard in Prague that there is a camp in Austria, and we can stay there. Hala, I was not there. Hala, I think, was in Germany, right? Hala Milich. Yeah. I tell you, everybody went in different direction. And we went to that camp in Salzburg. And there we, of course, met other survivors. And in Prague was already a little bit better because there was a wonderful this was American zone.
Now, let me ask you a couple of questions
Yeah.
about Prague. Were you in a hotel kind of a building?
What?
In Prague, was there a hotel kind of a building?
It was, I think, an apartment house.
Okay. Were there all survivors in this apartment
Yes,
house?
only survivors. It was specially a building for survivors.
How many survivors were in this building?
A lot.
And
I mean, at least
were-
100 or more.
okay. Do you remember the address of this building?
What?
What was the address? Do you remember?
Yes. In Driska 5.
Okay. And you remember how long you stayed?
We were a month there.
Okay. Was there anybody you were particularly friendly with from that period when you were in Prague?
And the Czech people were very friendly.
I'm talking about survivors.
The who?
Were there any
The
survivors that you were?
No, it just was our group. And each that time we left, some people went into different directions.
Is there anybody that you were friendly with years later that you knew from this place in Prague?
My husband traveled with his very best friend, and
What was his name? What was his name?
Ruben Weisfellner.
And did he stay friendly with him after he came to America?
Yeah,
Okay.
we brought him to America.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? And we brought Hala Weiss because Hala Weiss was in Salzburg.
Okay. So from Prague,
From
you're going to tell me now how you got to Salzburg.
If I tell you, I don't even remember how we got.
Mm,
The same way.
You just got there. It
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
matter. So how long were you in Salzburg?
Oh, in Salzburg we were almost 4 years.
So
we
now,
came 1945, and in 1948 we were already. 48 we were in Canada. Before going to Prague, we went to Canada.
I have a lot of questions
Yeah.
for you. To the best of your, did you get married in Salzburg?
Yeah. In Salzburg, I was married.
Now tell me.
With Helusha. I live with Helusha Jonas. Now I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. So, when did you get married?
In 1946.
Okay, so who did you live with? Tell me what it looked like. Well, tell me about Salzburg. How did the living arrangements look?
Well, in the beginning, we lived in something which was called Reisenschule. That was where they kept horses. It was a terrible building and a lot of people and not enough accommodation to take a shower and so on. But there was a rabbi, a chaplain from American forces. And this rabbi, he was like our patron. He took care of the camp. And we were every day complaining. We have no water, we cannot wash, we have not enough heat, whatever. And he said, I am going to put you in little houses. And we didn't, of course, believe him, because the thing what happened to us, that we didn't trust anybody and we didn't believe anybody. We were so afraid of people, of strange people, and we didn't take anybody's word. But sure enough, he went to the Austrian Behörde. I don't know the Austrian. What is in German is Behörde? The people who were running the city. And he said that here are people and they have to have different. I want all those places. It was when you saw the picture, The Sound of Music. It was a big mountain and little houses. That's where we were, and he managed to get all those houses for us. That's where I lived
Who?
Yeah.
You had one roommate?
What?
You had one roommate?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so we were together with all those, with my cousin, my husband, and my cousin also married a man on the way.
What
She
was
met
his?
him, and
What was his name?
his name was Weisfellner, Gustav Weisfellner.
Now-
And he was also from Lodz.
Now you said you didn't trust anybody, but did you trust survivors?
Yes, this was the only thing that we trusted each other. Everything was, we were very close, regardless whether we were in camp with them or not. As long as this was a survivor, we knew each other's pain and we trusted each other. That was the thing.
So it didn't matter if a survivor came from a different country, it didn't matter
Doesn't matter.
as long as they were
Yeah.
a survivor.
Although there was a little, we didn't like very much the Hungarian, because they were like a little dreyers, not dreyers, they had different ways, but they were survivors, and they lived in Salzburg, and we were the same. We were, survivors. But like between the Jews, the German Jews didn't like the Polish Jews, because we were not as learned as them.
Right.
They were from the West. They were more, they had more privileges in their country to attend higher schools of learning. They became doctors, although before the war there were a lot of doctors and lawyers and painters in Lodz. And so he gave us those little homes. And each house was, had like, for two people, two couples. Helusha was there with her husband and I was with her. And the kitchen was together.
So tell me about your wedding.
What?
Tell me about your wedding.
My wedding was done by American forces. The chaplain heard that he already saw that people, not that they lived each other, but we didn't have sexual, but we were in a very close, we were very close. For instance, when my husband wanted to go with me, I went with him, or we have couples that were close to each other. So he said, that's not a business. The best thing is when you're gonna get married. All right. Who should marry us? There was a rabbi who survived the war in Hungary as a deaf and dumb man. That's what he was. He didn't talk a whole war when he was on the street or wherever he lived. He did not talk. And this is how he survived. He had no documents, and he was a real rabbi. He wrote a beautiful ketubah. And our rabbi, the American rabbi, the chaplain, brought some food for the wedding. The food consisted of cans of pears and peaches, like before the war, but they were big for the army. And so we had the peaches and we had some, not wine, but there was something, sweet drink. And one of the guys made a wedding cake. It was a small thing, but it was okay.
So who came?
And he came, all the people, all the neighbors.
The
people who lived with us together.
Were there a lot of people from the DP camp that came?
Oh yes, they were all from there. Nobody could live there, only survivors.
But I mean, did a lot of survivors attend everybody's wedding?
Yes, because we had no family, and there was an older couple, and they were and we trusted them because they were older couple. If there was an older couple, we gave them a lot of respect because they were no old people. I mean, they were not old. They were maybe in their 40s or maybe 50s. For us, they were old because we were very young. We were in our 20s.
Right.
So for them, we are old. For us, they were old. So they were our Unterführer, what do you say?
Like a witness?
Who brought us to the Hopa.
Oh, so you had a huppah.
Yeah, we had a Hopa. Four people were standing holding a towels that we got from the American army. Later on, when the holidays came, I will tell you something about the holidays in Salzburg.
Go ahead.
It was the time, it was fall already, and the holidays Rosh Hashanah came. What are we doing? We have nothing in the camp to make a holiday, no Sidurim, nothing. So I have his picture. I will give you. He was a marvelous man. He saved so many children, you have no idea. So this Rabbi Bonen, his name was, his second name was Bonen, I don't remember his name. He made sure that he got from the American army, he got the license for men and for everybody a prayer book. Well, some of the prayer book, I think all of them were in English. We didn't know English yet. And where did we hold that? Was first Rosh Hashanah holiday. That was in Mozart auditorium. Mozart, not auditorium, in Mozart concert hall. I cannot tell you how beautiful that place was, with tremendous organs. And we stood there looking, this is supposed to be a place for Jews, to be with a place with organs for Rosh Hashanah. But then we said, should Hitler see that? Hitler was speaking in that place. We were told that Hitler was speaking in that place to the Austrians. Hitler himself was an Austrian. And we said, we are now in that place where Hitler was speaking. And those are our holidays. It was a mixed feeling. On one hand, how do we try to make this holiday in any way meaningful? It's a place where we were never there. No rabbi, no rabbi of our kind. But there was somebody who was conducting there was somebody who was conducting the services, and as much as we could, we stood there. First of all, we were very like stoned, and then when we heard a few words and singing, we started to cry, because we were alone, no parents, no sisters, brothers, no place to go. This was and we were only waiting until we get something from the Americans or through the UNRWA or we were really, we didn't even have a paper to tell who we are. So it was a very heart-wrenching experience, even so that the rabbi was so good to us. He said, now you are free. You have to understand that you have to wait until things will happen, until Europe will settle down. We didn't think about going to America. I mean, this was something that we never even dreamed about it. We dreamed at least to go maybe to Israel. At that time it was Palestine.
Right.
So when we were, that holiday was finished, but it was not a real holiday for us. It was mostly remembering what was at home, and mostly the pain that we have nobody. And what kind of holidays are those?
Now, this is probably 1946.
Yeah, this is 1940.
At that point, who did you know then in Salzburg that you ended up knowing later in the United States?
The Klugers, and there were a lot of people. There were Hofstetter, a man Hofstetter. There were a lot of people. Oh, Peter Zeil, yes, and she's still alive. They were married also in Salzburg.
Whose weddings did you attend in Salzburg?
The same people that I was with. I attended the weddings.
And
Yeah.
were they all the same? Was all the weddings similar? You attended the Peter Size wedding?
Yeah.
Who else? Do you remember?
No, Jonas, my cousin, and Wagner's. There was a family Wagner, the older people. You know what happened? My husband once got in Salzburg a fish, a carp. My God, a carp? If you get today $1 million, a carp, a live carp, and he brings it in a paper, in a newspaper. There was nothing else. And he says, Hanka, I got a carp.